Good morning, everyone. We're going to give it just a minute or so to get folks to join up, and then we'll go ahead and get started. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Uh, Big thanks again to everyone for joining. Um, our event here today, from idea to launch, creating AI agents that validate your roadmap. I'm your host. My name is Nate Richardson, and I'm the head of growth and research at Perspective AI. Before this, I was a director of product at Tatango, and I'm excited to share with you what we built. And again, thanks for joining. So, why are we here today? Ultimately, roadmaps have never been riskier. With the pace of AI combined with market volatility, guesswork has really never been punished like this before, and customer evidence is now existential. Ultimately, the asks never stop, and more than ever, every feature that you build needs proof. Decisions that you make need customer signal, and the requests are piling up faster and faster. The fact is, though, that discovery bandwidth just can't keep up. Manual interviews and centralized queues really slow decisions and delay your pace of shipping. And this leads to decisions being made in the dark because without customer conversations, prioritization becomes gut feel and leads to you building hippos and spending a lot of time and money on costly rework. So we recognized what was going on, and we felt that there needed to be a new architecture, an architecture that started with agentic validation and validated any idea on demand with an interview agent. Those interviews needed to build an evidence pipeline where conversations became insights and insights could become PRDs and stories and prioritize roadmaps in seconds. And we knew that this architecture needed to have governance by design that included standards and oversights baked in. And this led us to build Perspective AI because we understand that product teams need deep customers' truth at the speed of shipping today. In the past, you've been forced to make decisions between high scale methods that provided shallow insight or methods that didn't scale, like expensive high scale market research or running focus groups that provide deep connection and understanding, but ultimately don't scale. We built Perspective to build this, to serve this top right quadrant, to get you the scale of surveys and polls and the depth of market research, uh, focus groups, in person calls, and so on. You know, Ultimately, every customer touch point is a chance to either validate or kill a roadmap, a roadmap bet. Every person at this event today has touch points like this across their entire journey. You are um, doing You're doing discovery during sales calls. You are capturing goals during onboarding. You're checking in during early activation to understand what clicked and what blocked new users. You're collecting feature requests and you're doing post feature use interviews or getting feedback on beta concepts. You have CSAT surveys running after support tickets come in. You're conducting QBRs to understand whether or not customers are getting value and ROI from your product. And you're probably conducting exit interviews when customers churn. When you have agentic validation built in across your entire customer journey, you have a completely new workflow where you have constant signals coming in, enabling you to identify themes, segments, and urgency. You're able to take those signals and turn them into decisions, build prioritized roadmaps, write out feature specs, and turn those things into artifacts like PRDs and user stories and launch messaging. So this is what we built, and I want to show you now, a demo of Perspective, and we're going to do this in the context of validating your roadmap with your customer advisory board. Okay, so in this scenario, I have a roadmap, a deck rather, that I've created in Google Slides. And I'm going to create an interviewer agent that's going to enable me to get feedback on that roadmap uh, with a lot of depth very quickly. So I'm here in Perspective, and I'll start by selecting the interviewer agent type, and I'll go ahead and give it a prompt. So I'll go ahead and paste in the Google Slides along with my initial prompt. Now, Perspective is going to analyze both my research goal as well as the content that I just gave it. And what you're seeing now is it creating a detailed interview outline in just a couple of seconds. You can see from just that simple prompt, it understands what I want to do. It's defined a research question for me. How well does our proposed roadmap meet the needs and expectations of our customer advisory board? It's defined a set of goals for the interviews. It understands who will be participating. It's defined interview guidelines, and it's even captured the slide deck for me, and you'll see why that's important in just a moment. Now, it's important to note that you do have the ability to customize these to your own needs. You can add your own branding. You can see it's captured mine automatically. You have control over the voice agents that are used to conduct these interviews. You can even build in custom flows to trigger things like webhooks after conversations are complete. And let's go ahead and move to the next step. So in just a couple seconds, I've created an entire interview outline that will guide interviews with my customer advisory board. So now I'm ready to invite participants. And, I can do things like invite people directly via email. I can also recruit people, both human panels as well as smart AI agent panels, which I'm going to go ahead and do and have this run in the background so that we have something to analyze at the end. Now, most powerful is the ability to embed these interviews directly in your product or on your website, wherever those customer conversations are happening. So I'm actually going to take this embed code, and we're going to jump over into we're going to jump over into Figma. Now, I'm actually going to use AI here live to create a landing page where I can send my customer advisory board, and they'll be able to share their feedback on our roadmap. Now, full transparency, I've got a design prompt here on the side that I'll go ahead and paste in here so that this aligns with Perspectives branding. I'm going to build on this quickly and say, embed this Perspective AI interview in the landing page as the main call to action. And I'll go ahead and give it that embed code. Now, we'll give Figma just a minute here to think and build a landing page for me. And while it's building, it's important to note, and I may have the opportunity to show this a little bit later on, that we have a Perspective MCP that would enable you to do this in tools like Claude Code or Cursor, so that you don't need to start off with something like a design prompt and build a page from scratch. Instead, you could do something like we've done in Perspective directly. You'll notice that we have a feedback chat, and when I click on it, we're able to collect feedback with a live interview directly in our product. Now, we'll jump back to Figma and give it just a second here to finish up. And again, while it's working, I'll just note that, if at any time you have questions, please feel free to drop those into the chat. I'll be happy to answer those live. Okay, so while this is continuing to work, let me just jump into the Q&A here for a moment. And it looks like we have a question from Shelly. Will we be able to see the output of these interviews in the demo? Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, we'll get to that in just a moment. Okay, so it looks like our landing page is now live. And as you can see, our Perspective interview is embedded directly in the landing page. And I'm going to actually go ahead and publish this quickly, just because from my testing, I've noticed that working directly in the Figma IDE does create some bugs. So we'll turn this into a live URL, and I'll even share it in the chat here in just a moment so that you guys can go and open it up yourself and check it out. All right. Okay, so here's our live page. And again, I'll go ahead and drop this into the chat. And anybody who wants to open it up is more than welcome to go ahead and check it out live. Okay, so we've got our landing page for our customer advisory board, and I'm ready to take the interview. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like.
Hello, thanks for being here. This conversation is all about getting your feedback on the product roadmap for Perspective AI. To start off, what's your name?
My name is Nate.
Thanks, Nate. I've got your name saved. Now, let's dive into your thoughts on the product roadmap. What's the first thing that stands out to you?
Could you show it to me really quick? I haven't seen it just yet.
Sure thing. Let me share it with you right now. Here's the roadmap presentation. Product roadmap. Through Google Docs presentation D1RK FinNotJ, FPZR, D08VZBM, HWIL47, XYZW5A7.
Okay, I've got it. Thanks. I'm taking a look now. Give me just a minute.
Take your time. Nate, I'll be right here when you're ready. Once you've had a look, let's start with your initial reaction. What's your first impression of the roadmap?
Hmm. Well, my first thought is I'm a little disappointed to see that the governance layer features aren't going to be coming until Q2.
Got it. What about that timing is disappointing for you?
Well, we've been, waiting for these fine-grained permission models for some time, and we've got a lot of initiatives that are sort of hung up behind not having these.
Understood. Can you share a specific scenario where the lack of those permission models is really holding things up for you?
Yeah, I mean, we just hired like 10 new people, and our choices right now are either don't give people enough access or give them too much access, and ultimately it's just stopping us from rolling these things out.
That makes sense. So, the fine-grained
Cool. So you can see able to serve our full product roadmap directly to our customers on this page and conduct a live voice interview with them completely agentically. So let's jump back now into perspective and see what those interviews actually look like. Okay. So if you recall earlier on, I generated a handful of AI interviews so that we have something to analyze here. So, and it looks like perhaps one of you is actually in there right now taking the interview, which is awesome. Let's go ahead and just quickly generate a magic summary to get a pulse check on, how well our roadmap is aligned with what our customer advisory board is expecting from us. All right. So right off the bat, I see, mixed to cautious reception. And I've got some recommendations here, but this is pretty high level. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into a full analysis session here where we can look across all these interviews and start to extract signals. The first thing I'm going to ask it is, where are we misaligned? This is probably the most important thing before we make any decisions or start dedicating development resources. You can see that perspectives going through, all of these interviews and identifying, key things that might be misaligned. So we'll give this a second just to generate a full readout for me, and then we'll take a look. All right, so looks like we've got some critical misalignment. It looks like, the most direct critique came from Gary, who found the roadmap not exciting. And because it's all governance centric. Yikes. Now, what's really cool is that I'm able to see these direct quotes, and I can even open Gary's interview, and I can read the full transcript and understand the context of where this came from. So it looks like Gary's asking for more AI, and told us it's all governance centric. Let's take a look at just a couple other ones here. Critical integrations. Oh, yikes. Let's take a look here. So it looks like IMA here is in healthcare research, and let's see, it needs to strictly control access to patient data and follow HIPAA rules. Okay, so looks like we've got a pretty thorough readout on misalignment. So let's take action on this. All right. So I'm going to ask Perspective to create a reprioritized roadmap. And, importantly, when I'm going to go and present this to the rest of my team, I want it to be very clear on what's moving up in priority and what's moving down. And I need to make sure that I have evidence to back this up. Now, this is nice, but ultimately, maybe not super readable in its current form. There's a lot of detail here, which is good, but I want something that we can just quickly go through in a team meeting. So we'll give this just a second to complete. All right, very thorough readout, but I want this just as a table. Okay, and here's our table. So very clear what's moving up and what is moving down. Looks like things like platform integrations need to move up. Looks like it's the most critical and needs to be moved into phase one. Compliance, security, and role-based access is moving up. That was what I mentioned. You can see here my quote. And we've got some other stuff moving down. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create what's called a highlight. And this highlight now is a shareable artifact that I can send to my team. So I can just copy this and I can send it out. And again, I'll go ahead and just drop this into the chat so that anybody that's here now has the ability to open that up and take a look at what it looks like in the real world. Okay, so the next thing that I want to just quickly demo for you all is, if you're a builder, especially if you're a builder, your workflow is probably based in, in AI coding tools these days. So I'm gonna actually go and build a feature request interviewer directly in Claude. and show you how that works using the Perspective MCP. All right, so we're now here in Claude. Let me just verify. Yep, okay, you guys can see. All right. So I'm actually going to ask Claude first of all, to create a Perspective AI interview to collect feature requests from our customers. You can see here that the Perspective MCP is called right away. It's identifying my workspace, and it's going to start to create that interview outline like you saw me do directly in our product just a minute ago. You can see here that it understood, again, just from my basic prompt, what my goal is, which is to understand what features customers want, why they need them, and what problems they're trying to solve. Now, when I was director of product at Tatango, this is something that I frankly would have loved to have. You know, we used tools like Product Board and AHA to have a forum of sorts where customers could go and drop their feature requests in. And, you know, ultimately what we got was a lot of noise, a lot of, you know, potentially frustrated folks, or really short type of feature requests like build a Salesforce opportunity integration with no real details around what that would look like, how that affects the workflow, what value it would bring. And Perspective instead solves that. It asks all of those questions independently and dynamically based on the context of the conversation that's happening in real time. So it looks like my interview is now created, and it's going to collect their name, their feature requests, the problems they're trying to solve, the use cases and context, urgency level, and so on. Perfect. So I've got it, and you know, I could open this up and try it out. But instead, since I'm in Claude, I'm going to actually ask it to do something very similar to what we did with Figma just a moment ago. All right. So now I'm going to give this to Claude, and Claude's going to build this landing page for me and embed that interview directly in. While this is thinking, let me just take a quick look at our Q&A. So I see a question here around, can I use the MCP in Cursor? Absolutely, you can. And while we let Claude think, actually, why don't I just quickly show you all how you are able to access the MCP. So when you're in Perspective, if you click down here in the bottom left, you'll see the MCP. And we have really easy to set up instructions for Claude Desktop, for Claude Code, and for Cursor. Claude Desktop being super easy, you just download a file, open it, and it installs the MCP for you in about 3 seconds. So we definitely do. And you know, if you use an IDE that we don't have something built right out of the box for, but they support custom MCPs, you are fully able to leverage the Perspective MCP there. All right, so let's jump back over to Claude and see what it made for us. All right, so it looks like it created something pretty similar, though I'll be honest, I like the messaging on this landing page a lot more. I love this, start the conversation, click on it. I guess it wants me to open a link, but I can just scroll down. Now, because we're working in Claude Desktop and not like a true development environment, it's not loading the interview live here, but as you all saw in Figma, once it was on a live page, the Perspective interview loads just fine. So pretty cool. And let's go ahead and bring it back now. And okay, so that concludes the demo portion. And again, if you have any additional questions, there's been some good ones coming in. Please feel free to drop that into the chat. And we'll give it just a second for some questions to come in. Okay, so it looks like we have a question. Can you share it here? I'm assuming that what you're asking for here is maybe how to get the MCP set up. So let me go ahead and drop that into the chat. Okay, so here's a good question. What's the completion rate on these interviews? Now, believe it or not, we actually see north of 90% completion rate on these interviews. Once you take a Perspective interview for yourself, it's really easy to see why that is. The interview is engaging, it's personalized, it's intelligent, and asks follow-up questions and completely tailors the interview to each individual person that it's talking to. So again, over 90% completion rate on our interviews. And people at the end of every interview have the ability to rate the interview. Did they like the experience with a thumbs up emoji or a heart or a starry eyes? And we see a 95% positive rating on interviews that people participate in. Okay, we'll give it just another second for any more questions to flow in. And if not, then I will go ahead and wrap up. Okay, looks like no more questions, which is totally fine. I just want to thank everyone again for joining us today. This was our first of many future live events, and I hope to see you at the next one. Keep an eye out for a Perspective interview in your inbox. I'd love to get your feedback on how you thought this event went, and take care.